Hello and welcome to the agenda. I am Ajay Kaul. Today we will discuss how long India will have to wait for permanent membership of the UN Security Council. When will India become a permanent member of the UN Security Council? This question has been on the minds of Indians for many years now, but it seems to be impossible in the near future. A clear indication in this regard has been given by America's new nominee to the United Nations, Linda Thomas Greenfield. In the agenda today, we will discuss what Greenfield said and what it means for India. We have with us two former diplomats, Ambassador Vishnu Prakash and Ambassador Pinak Chakraborty. But before we begin our conversation, let's have a look at this small report.
President Joe Biden's nominee to the United Nations, Linda Thomas Greenfield, has refused to explicitly commit the new administration's support for India's candidature for permanent membership of the Security Council. During a confirmation hearing before the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, Thomas Greenfield merely said that the matter is a part of ongoing discussion. She stated this when asked whether she thought India, Germany and Japan should be permanent members of the UN Security Council. Significantly, the three previous US administrations, that of George W. Bush, Barack Obama and Donald Trump, had publicly stated that the US supports India's candidature. Non-retaliation of that position gives an impression that there could be a nuanced shift in the US stance on the issue, and it could mean that India's waiting for its deserving position would get longer. Bureau report.
So let's welcome our guests, Ambassador Prakash and Ambassador Chakraborty. Welcome to the program, both of you, sir. So I'll first go to Ambassador Prakash about the question: how long should India wait for a permanent membership of UNSC?
Ajay, this is a question which is a very pertinent one, because this is something that we have been asking the world and asking ourselves for a very long time. And if you recall, Prime Minister had recently addressed the UN General Assembly, where he had mentioned this upfront, that it's high time that India's credentials are recognized, that the UN security, the UN system is democratized.
Right.
And it is something which the arrangement dates back to 1945, when the world has changed. Now, when you talk of credentials, I don't think there can be any country which has better credentials. It's not just me as an Indian speaking, but by every yardstick.
Right.
From 1949, when we helped in conducting the elections in South Korea, to 2021, when we have become the world's pharmacy, India has been playing a proactive role in every respect. Now, it's not a question of credentials, it's a question of a political will. And unfortunately, there are forces which are determined to obstruct India. And as the External Affairs Minister said, you have a situation where a country or countries
Right.
block the membership of another country because they don't like the country. It's not on merit. So it is about time that this arrangement is looked into, but I don't think that we'll see the fruition of this process in a hurry. Unfortunately, that's how the world is, and I can really not put a time frame to how long we'll have to wait.
Okay, I'll go to Ambassador Chakraborty. You heard Ambassador Prakash about the systems in the UN. So when we hear the new envoy of the Biden administration to UN, when she says the discussions are still going on and there are some countries which are opposing, so is that a kind of change in US position, since because President Obama, President George Bush, President Trump had been openly supporting India's bid? How do you see it, sir?
Well, I think what the UN said was basically factual, that there is discussion going on. Some countries oppose the expansion. The difference that I found was that she did not mention that the USA supports India's candidature.
Yeah, that was a nuance change.
Yeah, so she didn't say that explicitly.
Yeah.
But the US administration has given its support earlier. So I think that will come later, because this was
only a hearing for confirmation in the Senate. It was not really a policy statement of the Biden administration. So that will probably come later.
But
so
Ambassador, if I may interrupt you, sorry for interruption, but even during hearing, she could have reiterated the US position, no? That we support India's bid. But she didn't.
Well, they could have.
Yeah.
They could have said not just that, but many other things.
Yeah.
But either it was something that was not in the script that was provided to her, or you can, if you want to jump to certain conclusion that the US is actually walking back from the promise that it had made that it will support India's candidate. I doubt that very much. Anything is possible.
Right.
And the rivalries that are going on and countries who oppose it, it's all very clear actually. It's out in the open. China being one of them. And because of our bilateral problems, China's own ambitions to not to allow India. But China also made a one statement, if I recall correctly, that there should be a package deal, etc. But those are all kind of obfuscatory sort of statements that they tend to make.
But if we see these processes are, these are, boiled down to regional differences or maybe conflicts in Asia, maybe in Europe. If we talk about India being opposed by the so-called club, which Pakistan, Italy and others are there. Ambassador Prakash, I am asking you about this. So is it like regional conflicts or disputes are, going to the UN or holding back this process?
Okay, as far as I can see it, and I'm being very frank, nobody wants, or very few countries actually want expansion of the UN Security Council. The five permanent members, the only nation which is committed, so to say, in my view, is France. China is absolutely opposing it. Russia is ambivalent. UK, you never know, they play both sides. And USA has committed. But given a choice, they would like to have a very small expansion, and they are more interested in Japan and Germany. Then there are the naysayers, and we have the coffee club, which you know about.
Yeah.
And where countries ranging from Canada to Korea to Mexico to a friendly country called Pakistan, they are all opposed for one reason or the other. And then the ambition levels of different regions is very high. Africa wants 3 seats, permanent seats, and so on. I can go. So the way we are thinking about it, and if you are talking of consensus, this consensus will never happen till the cows come home.
Right.
Now, there has to be a political decision. That political decision, when will it be taken, how will it be taken, is anybody's guess. Imagine this process of reforms was initiated in 1993. We are 28 years into the discussion, and we are no way better off than we were earlier. So I'm afraid we are looking at an uphill task, but then diplomacy is about conquering uphill tasks, and I remain hopeful, but it will take time.
Right. So Ambassador Chakravarti, as Ambassador Prakash mentioned about the problems, so we know about the text-based negotiations which have not, I'll say not even taken off. So what to say about progress? What do you say on that?
I agree. Whatever text you may have is not going anywhere. And although I do believe that if there is an agreement among the P5 and then the thing is put to vote in the General Assembly, it should pass, I think, broadly, because the General Assembly has a large membership, and it should pass. I'm quite sure that it will. So I think I don't see it happening in the near future. Maybe when I say near future, I mean maybe a couple of decades or 3 decades, I think, because they will stall it. Because almost every country has some interest or the other, then regional demands are different. And though I do believe that ultimately the day will come, but as you know, 28 years have passed and we might have to wait another 28 years to get to the point where there is a package deal or there is a text that can be voted on and these things can be implemented. But I think this kind of international politics that is going on, the rivalries, the ego hassles, and all these things are basically taking it away. And many countries feel that why should India be there, etc. And there are various views on it. Although there is no question that on basic qualification and our unstinted support to the UN, we qualify on all the boxes can be ticked as far as our qualification is concerned. So I think we are in for the long haul, and we have to concentrate and become a bigger and bigger economic power. And then only, I mean, after all, Japan is an economic power, so is Germany. Yet, of course, they are not members because they lost the Second World War. And they were occupied and they came up from there. We, of course, also were colonially, sort of under colonial sort of rule and came out only 75 years ago. So I think there are many issues here that will it's a boiling pot, so to speak, and we all know the ingredients that they are in it. But I think the recipe is not yet ready to be eaten.
Ambassador Prakash, the recipe is not ready to be eaten, and as we mentioned about text-based negotiations, which have not gone anywhere. So why do you think, I mean, no progress is being made on that?
Again, for the same reason that if there is a text, then you start agreeing on a language. That is the process, the only way in which the process will gain momentum. And that is why the naysayers do not want to put pen to paper and come up with a text. In fact, the permanent members, including USA, China, Russia, nobody is willing to do that. And since 2015, when the decision was taken to switch to a text-based negotiation, we find that nothing is happening. So long and short of it is that there is no political will. Those who are the permanent members don't want their position to be diluted.
Right.
There is a permanent member or two which frankly in today's scenario have no business to be occupying that position. Then there are countries which want renewable non-permanent seats. Then there are countries which are opposed to the veto. So there are so many pulls and pressures, but the way forward is a text-based negotiation and a kind of grand understanding where countries believe in some give and take. But given the unsettled environment, given the geopolitical contestation that we see today, I am afraid I'm not very optimistic that we'll find a solution early. As Dr. Ambassador Chakravarti said, we are indeed in for a long haul.
So, Ambassador Chakravarti, I'll come to you. So, when we talk about, I mean, as I mentioned earlier, President Obama, President Trump openly supporting India's candidature, but not really doing enough on that. Actually, if we talk about text-based negotiations or other ways. So, was it kind of only lip service to maybe please India? What do you say?
I think the diplomatic initiative they took to support India was taken with the full understanding that there are countries which are opposing and it's not going to happen.
Right.
So they got brownie points with India, saying, "Oh yes, we support your candidature," knowing fully well it's not going to happen. So to them, it was just about to please India to some extent. So I think that is what they did. And that's how it has gone on for quite some time. Although, as Vishnu said, that France is probably the only one. But I wouldn't put it past even France that they said it knowing fully well it is not going to be implemented. So I think that is the moot point. So because nations have this kind of diplomacy. We can say some nice things to somebody we want to please or we have to do business with. This is part of the game, and we are familiar with that. So I think this is going to go on, and I'm not sanguine at all that this is going to be sorted out very early. And we just have to be prepared for a very long marathon,
right.
Probably longer than the normal marathon
right.
that normally the runners run. And we'll have to bear with it, and we have to show the stamina to stick with it. And meanwhile, we have to become economically powerful and militarily powerful enough for the world to recognize that without having India in the UN Security Council, the loss is theirs and not ours.
Right. So, Ambassador Prakash, we remember the euphoria that was generated when President Obama addressed our parliament and said India should be there. But it was only, at the end, it was only lip service, no?
Well, I will really not call it a lip service.
And that was 10 years back, 2010.
Well, what is 10 years in the life of a nation? It is, the very fact that President Obama and his personality, like President Obama, weighs his words very carefully. To be in the Indian Parliament and say what he said was significant. It did represent a change in the US position. And certainly it reflects a change in the realities on ground because the world has changed, their standing has changed. But as Ambassador Chakravarti is mentioning, or High Commissioner Chakravarti to be more precise, it all stems from your economic muscle, economic heft. By mid-30s or late 30s, if we become a $10 trillion economy, the ball game will change. But there are political considerations, and when there are countries determined to block India's entry, and here I'm talking of China, I'm sure will do everything within its power to block India's entry.
Right.
And the system is pitted against us because the 5 permanent members, all 5 have to endorse it. Now, some people argue that you can go through the UNGA route and get a majority in UNGA. Yes, but even then the UN Security Council will have to endorse the decision of the UNGA.
Right.
So there has to be some kind of a grand bargain. What will enable the grand bargain? Frankly, I cannot wrap my head around it. I'm hopeful, but not optimistic. And I will be very happy if in my lifetime it were to happen in the normal course. I mean, you never know of a black swan event, but it is not going to be an easy thing to get a permanent membership, and certainly not with a veto. In a diluted form, maybe.
In fact, I think we had agreed to that non-veto also. I think, but that also did not click.
We had not agreed to it.
Not veto for 5 years, maybe. That was the proposal.
We had not agreed to it, but we
were ready. We were ready, or I'll say.
I don't think we were ready, but very reluctantly we may go along. We are not ready, Ajay. Come on, you know how it is.
So Ambassador Chakravarti, as we talk about the reforms, and there has been differences on how many new members should be added, and whether veto should be there, how many should have veto, how many should not have been veto. There is no consensus even on that. So what do you say?
Well, obviously there's no consensus. If we had consensus, we would probably be going ahead with a text-based negotiation. But it is not merely consensus. I think there are very hard geopolitical realities at play here, rivalries, egos, etc. You can see how China is behaving.
Right.
And I do not see China agreeing to India's thing. And they can block anything because they are a P5 member. So I don't think we should be very sanguine about it. And it's not going to happen in my lifetime either. And not that I'm going to outlive Vishnu, but I'm sure this is not going to happen in my lifetime. The next generation, our children might see it coming to fruit. But at the moment, because of certain international, the flux in the international order and the kind of bipolarity, multipolarity, all kinds of things that are going on, it's very unlikely that we will see the day very soon when India becomes a permanent member. As for veto, non-veto, these are all up for grabs. I don't think anything has been decided that we can say, okay, this point has been decided, or that point has been decided. Because as we know that without a negotiation, you cannot really negotiate in the sense of, okay, I don't want this, I want this word changed or something like that. So I don't think this is going to happen very soon. And I'm only repeating myself now, so I think I'll stop here.
Yeah. So, Mr. Prakash, we're talking about, we had a group called G4, which I don't think has had a meeting for years, I guess now. Has it fizzled out? That team has it?
G4 is meeting, to the best of my knowledge, regularly on the margins of international fora. We are in touch with each other, and but
those may be customary, I guess, because there is no, separately or standalone meetings, maybe to symbolize that we are serious about it.
Well, I do not have an insider view, nor am I fly in the wall to hear what is going on, but I do know that the G4 meetings are held, and it is not mere tokenism. They do exchange notes, they do strategize, but it's an uphill task. They know that there is a wall that needs to be breached and conquered. So that is the challenge. But the G4 process has held. Now, it cuts both ways, because there were times when China used to send us privately that, look, we don't have any difficulty with your membership, but it is Japan that we are opposing. So, whatever we say, the political will is lacking, and it's something like that. It's a very simplistic example. 5 permanent members, let's say they have $100 each in their pocket, and all you have to tell them is that, Mr. Permanent Member, please give $30 out of your $100 so that it can be distributed in India, between India, Japan, and Germany.
Right.
They are not going to do that. Nobody likes to cede power or dilute power willingly. So it is a power game. And why will you allow another power which has a good potential and a track record to come into the fray? It's as simple as that.
Right. So, Chakravarti, if we talk about G4, what I feel is like G4 covers 4 continents, but leaves Africa. Africa is a very important continent. Maybe it should have one member from there also to develop consensus. What do you say on that?
So certainly Africa has to get its, but how many from Africa? Africa says we are a large continent and so many countries, we should have more than one.
Yeah.
And, those are issues that are there. Then there is this argument that if it comes in, then why have three countries for Europe? Should the UK be sort of elbowed out of the P5? And then there's Asia, for example, China is there, but Japan and India both get in. There'll be 3 from Asia. Latin America, Brazil is obviously one of the candidates. But earlier, Argentina used to oppose Brazil. So there are all these, issues that are there in each continent. And so there's no clear pathway, as we have been saying and repeatedly.
No,
so I do not think
possibly South Africa to be included in our G4, maybe G5, make it G5.
Well, if you include South Africa, then Nigeria will say, why not us? Yeah. Egypt will say, why not us? If you take the African continent, Middle East, Arab countries might say, why not us? I think there is already a demand that there should be one Arab country on the earth. So, if you go by expanding this thing, there should be one Arabic-speaking country, then there should be one this or that and the other. So the consensus becomes very, very elusive, and there's no way you can have a system unless the P5 cracks the whip and says, okay, this is what we have agreed, and this is what can be put to vote.
Right.
And then people can vote whatever way they want. And but then you have to take people along. You need a majority also, or probably a 2/3 majority in the General Assembly to change the composition of the Security Council. So I think these are all the issues here. It's not going to happen, as we have already discussed and
So we had to conclude.
But we have to keep trying. That is for sure.
So we have to conclude. Two quick questions we'll go through. Ambassador Prakash, first I'll ask you. So when we talk about India's bid and at a serious attempt to get into UNSC, but at the same time, I may ask whether UNSC is relevant right now, because we have seen UNSC sanctioning people or entities which are not followed by countries, so that almost makes them UNSC irrelevant. What do you say? Quick comments.
Well, yes, that is a very good thought, and I have a quote from the U.S. Permanent Ambassador, U.S. Ambassador, which she, during the virtual meeting on 24th of September, this is what she had to say about the UN Security Council. I quote, "Shame on each of you. I'm disgusted by the content of today's discussion. I'm actually really quite ashamed by this council." Very polite word.
Right.
And, it shows what the UN Security Council is all about.
Yeah.
External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar said earlier in January last year, I think, and I'm paraphrasing him, that the UN Security Council, UN system has never been so ineffective. Now imagine the biggest crisis facing mankind was the COVID crisis.
Right.
And the UN Security Council did not have any time or the ability or the desire to discuss that. It was patted across to the WHO.
Yeah.
So, certainly the UN system is under a great deal of stress. Its relevance
we had to
is not what it...
So we had to conclude, Ambassador. Please. Continue.
Its relevance is not what it used to be. But where is the choice?
Right.
You can discard it if you have a better choice. You don't.
Yeah. So, Ambassador Chakravarti, I want to ask you the same question. So, is it as relevant as earlier, so that we have to be so seriously pursuing it, the membership?
I have no doubt that the relevance and the utility of the United Nations Security Council, I'm not talking about certain organs which continue to do good work, but the UNSC, its relevance has certainly gone down, but then nobody is discarding it, and nobody is saying he closed down the UN or the UNSC should be disbanded, etc. So as long as the institution exists and the powers it can exercise are there in the Charter, then of course we will continue to be part of that, part of the effort that we are putting in to get into the UNSC as a permanent member. We are not going to give that up, and whether the UN is less relevant or more relevant, that does not change our diplomatic goal. Yeah. But the fact remains that the UNSC is far less relevant today. And as Vishnu said, that they didn't have time to discuss this major pandemic, the COVID.
Yeah.
I mean, what kind of an organization is this?
Right.
That could not even discuss a major global challenge that we are facing.
Yeah. So we had to conclude, but UN has lost its or reduced relevance, but we had to push for its membership. Thank you for both of you for participating in this debate today.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
This is all in the agenda today. Thanks for watching. I'll be back with another important topic on Monday. Till then, goodbye.